Welcome to Sunday Morning Quarterback with Jay Stockwell and Bob Frady.
I'm blind. Where's my offensive play calling sheet? I'm blind.
This was a season of missed opportunities between replay officials, bad clock management, coaching decisions, injuries. This is a team that could have been 10-2, and unfortunately, we sit here at 5-7. And
you are what you are, and what you are is not going to a bowl game.
But below expectations. Just 4 weeks ago, things seemed so bright.
Yes. Just one more, Coach. No, I want them all. Well, you get none of them.
One lesson we have got to learn, Bob, is that we listen to the Vegas odds makers, like especially as it relates to over or under. These guys know what they're doing.
Yeah, well, the points were just that was one thing, but the over under. Here's what I saw, which really the most disappointing thing about yesterday's game is not that we pulled the most Nebraska ending out of a hat, where we threw a pick with less than a minute left and they turned around and kicked the winning field goal.
Can you believe it? I couldn't believe it.
I could. I was like, how are they gonna kick us in the nuts this week? And they came up with some really creative nut kicking, that's for sure. But the thing that really surprised and disappointed me the most was the lack of inventiveness on the offensive play sheet. You're going up against a great defense that over pursues and gang tackles. And then I watched a bunch of games today and I saw so much creativity it wasn't even funny. Michigan is having their running backs throw the football. Here's a pitch, throw the football. Try it. Loosen people up. It's like you got nothing to lose. If you had gone into this with a really inventive, let's just pull out all the stops and go, then, there's some respect.
Let me just run some numbers by you. And it's such a contrast. But as a CEO, Matt Rule cannot look at this data and fail to take action, right? Because it's so stark, all right? So what's the ranking of our punter nationally?
110.
101. What's the ranking of our kicker nationally?
110.
101. All right.
Wow.
So you have you have a special teams problem. Did you see Michigan's kicker today? The guy was unbelievable.
Yeah. I also saw Ohio State's kicker make a 52-yarder and then miss the same one.
Okay. But Michigan's punter, I should refer, both the kicker and the punter did well, but the punter was unbelievable, right? So we got a special teams issue. Guess what our offense is ranked?
101.
117. There's only 130 teams. Guess what our defense is ranked? Yeah, with a lineman as a quarterback. Literally, the guy's a lineman.
So.
No, that's rushing. That's rushing defense. But total defense, 14.
12. 14.
Okay, so you got this dichotomy. You got your special teams are not performing. Your offense is not performing. Guess who leads the FBS in turnovers?
Oh, it's Nebraska.
Okay, right. So you've got data that was just screaming the fact that coaching is not happening at the level it should be on the offense, the quarterbacks, the special teams, and Matt Rule is going to make a really critical error. And I hope Trev Alberts steps in and gets him to think about it. You're the CEO, okay? You've got your defense operating beautifully. You're the worst turnover team in the country. What are you going to do about that? Your special teams are terrible. What are you going to do about that? Your defense is awful. Your offense is awful. What are you going to do about that?
Hold on. How is your rushing offense this year?
Decent. Led the Big Ten.
Yeah. Led the Big Ten in rushing.
Yeah.
So, because people want to point at Raiola and say it's an offensive line problem. It's like, no, not an offensive line problem. It's an offensive scheme problem. Bad offensive scheme leads to bad special teams as well, because you put your teams in situations where there's a desperation to what they do. And I'm not saying that this is true, but it seems like it, where year one is kind of a hall pass year. It's like nobody was expecting that we would even be competitive for a bowl game, except for the optimism that we saw at the beginning of the season. It's like, you'd seen this pattern before: 1-10 at Temple and 1-0 at Baylor, and terrible first years to implement, and then implementing a system. So this was kind of if they had made a bowl, it was just a bonus round. So it's important not to overreact to the data, because you still haven't fully, you don't have your guys, you haven't installed your system, etc., etc., etc. Devastated by injuries offensively, not a lot of senior leadership. I mean, if you look at the lineup for Iowa yesterday, it was junior, junior, senior, 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 junior, sophomore. It's like there's no freshmen playing big roles on defense, and it's like, well, it's okay, it's all right, And yes, we cannot listen, we are swallowing the bitter tears of optimism. That's okay. That's okay. These are bitter tears, but I'd rather be here than where we were last year. That's for sure.
I do think Coach Rule gets credit for. I think he's a good coach, and I think he has the team. That's where I'll give him massive props versus Scott Frost. This guy has the team with him, as witnessed by Ty Robinson coming back. We're going to have 9 starters returning on offense or defense.
Yeah,
9.
Great. The other thing is I don't think he completely appreciated the wind factor. One of the first things that Tom Osborne talked about was the wind in Nebraska, and Satterfield, God bless his pointy little head, is not equipped to sling the ball all over the field with a quarterback that he wishes he had but doesn't, with an offensive scheme that's not designed to take advantage of the wind. And it puts your tight ends in a freaking locker box and buries them in the middle of a field somewhere. Like, you have to throw to the tight end in this league. It's like it's too windy. You could a 10 yard out when the wind is blowing is a really hard throw to make, and that's what the tight end is for.
They were way too focused on Billy Kemp and not enough on Fedoni, no question.
Yeah,
but who knows what's behind that? That's one thing we can't see the nuance behind those decisions. Although what we can see with our own eyes is a 6'5" tight end running down the middle wide open.
Yeah, and you're not looking for him. If he's not your first option, then he's your last option. And it's like, I don't understand it. Not to be all fanboy and stuff like that, but it was amazing how many games it's like tight ends open, tight ends open, tight ends open, tight ends open, and they're not keying on the tight end. And what does Iowa do with their craptastic offense? Tight end, tight end, tight end, tight end. And guess what? They're going to the championship game, and we're not.
They're 10-2 with the worst offense in the nation.
The last time this happened, a team had 4 with an offensive bad of theirs. Team had 4 wins. It's like, and so I'm kind of like, well, good for you, Iowa, and B, here's the map, people. The reason why Iowa has sent so many great tight ends to the NFL is because they focus on the tight end, and it's windy as heck in Iowa, just like it is in Nebraska. You have to focus on the tight end.
You have to give mad respect for the Ferentz family. I mean, because they know what they have and they play what they have, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And they're just and they're consistent. Nebraska could have been 10-2 this year with better coaching and a better idea of what their identity is.
I wouldn't necessarily say 10-2. I would say 8-4, 7-5, certainly 6-6 at least. But some really. It's funny. I was watching one of the games today, and the announcers are like, "Clock management is the key to success in college football," and for whatever reason, clock management is maybe they took that in the summertime rather than taking it with the real students. They took it in the summertime with all the high school kids and all the dropouts and stuff like that.
Trev Alberts want to hire a consultant to come in and teach clock management, like Urban Meyer or somebody. It's just like, guys, it seems like they don't even think about it. The explanations for the bad clock management are always weak, you know? I mean, they're just weak. I hate that we've become so critical because this when we started at the outset, we started this podcast because we wanted to start fresh with Matt Rule era, and it was just filled with hope, just like Scott Frost was when he came, you know. And I've been a fan of this my entire life. Okay. When we talked to Coach Osborne, I was born in 1964. He started in 1962. So my entire life as Nebraskan has been baptized in this team and this game. And it's just, you know, we have eyeballs. We can see, right?
Well,
and then when you compare it to some of these other programs, like the Michigans, and they just are disciplined. They have a plan. They stick to it, you know, and they don't turn the ball over 35 times a year, you know.
I will say this about that. Nebraska had an imperfect hand. Lost a lot of players, senior leadership, especially a wide receiver on offense. Their wide receivers, frankly, weren't very good this year. And so that when you have an offensive coordinator who's building a plan to throw to wide receivers 85% of the time, you know, you're not going to have a very good team. And it's a lack of flexibility on the part, I think. I think the Rule was sort of undone by Satterfield in so many ways, but he's trying to protect the franchise. He's like, hey, listen, every responsibility is with me. I'm the person who is responsible. He's trying to deflect criticism from maybe where it rightfully needs to be. But just think of it this way. You know, if you were the CEO and you go around criticizing your head of sales, that's not really that's not your job as the CEO. Your job as this, you know, is to keep everybody positive.
I think Rule handled himself beautifully in terms of the way he handled the press and all the critiques that were coming across his desk. But like, look, you've got now an opportunity to reset here, you know, and you may or may not be able to keep your defensive coordinator. And he made this comment about like, well, we do want everybody to learn a different offense. Well, hell yeah. I want somebody to learn a better offense than that.
The incongruous thing for me is how 1 week you can say, what are you going to do, fire the coach and run a bunch of whole new concepts? And then the following week he says, yeah, Tony should go out and get a new job and be a head coach. It's like, what would you be doing if that happened? You would be essentially firing the coach to get him kicked upstairs and running a whole bunch of new plays. It's like, can't have it, but you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. So
this is where Trev Albert's leadership is going to be. It's like, come on and talk to me, Mr. Rule. First of all, we're saving your coach. We're saving your defensive coach. And then let's talk about what we're going to do to, you know, address these issues on us and the special teams and the turnovers. Because you've got like one of four things working, you know, and you're a guy who's been a head coach for 11 years. And I think I give him 2. I think he has the team. I think he's doing 3. He's doing good on recruiting. It seems like it. But in terms of the game elements, boy, kicking, punting, defense, turnovers, quarterbacks, all like D's or F's, you know?
I think that we're being a little harsh. And because we're frustrated and we're sore. You know, these players didn't create the last minute losses. You know, that's stuff that happened historically.
45 one-game losses, one-score losses in the last 10 years, 45.
Yeah, but 10 years ago, some of these players were 9 years old. You know, so, you know, you can't really lay it on them.
So one of the writers, and this is not my favorite part, Bob, but Tad Stryker, who I've come to love. This guy's a, you know, Sports Illustrated, you know, the like writer. Those who consider the football program cursed no longer seem as wildly irrational as they once did. Because it does seem like there is a pall over this program that even somebody like Matt Rule, who's like a preacher and who gives some of the best speeches I've ever heard, Bob, we lost 3 games in a walk-off field goal. 3 of the last 4 walk-off field goals.
Yeah,
You
two
know?
of which we turned the ball over to give him the field goal.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh my God. You can't make it
here's
up. You can't make it
here's
up.
the thing, Jaybird. It's a statistical anomaly. It's just you run into these periods where it happens a lot, and you're not accounting for the conditions. That's what it comes down to. Coaching in these conditions is difficult, and you got to have somebody who can coach in these conditions.
Tom Chattel. Matt Rule wasn't kidding when he said there would be pain, but how much can a fan base take? Stukenholtz. What better way to summarize the 2023 Huskers, huh? They played admirably until the end. Just, Nebraska's season shouldn't have ended on Friday, but it did, and we all know the defense is the reason why. Meyer from the Daily Nebraskan. The offense's inability to march down the field reared its ugly head once again for the 3rd time this season. Holding an opponent to 13 points wasn't enough. Man, that's the thing. When you hold an opponent to, especially in the Big Ten, to 13 points, you got to win the game.
Yeah.
You got to win the game.
Listen, here's the thing. You have 3 quarterbacks on the roster who played this year. All 3 had turnover problems.
Oh my God.
Which leads to one of 2 conclusions. Number 1, you just have a bunch of bad quarterbacks on the roster. Or number 2, you have a system that encourages turnovers. I'm voting for number 2.
They all 3 had the same issue. So is that because we're just unlucky with our quarterback selection?
Listen, Chuba bounced one off of his thigh. He's running and he bounced it off of his thigh and fumbled it for a turnover. It's like it happens. It's because of the system. If you have multiple, listen, Jay, if you had a sales strategy and all 3 salespeople had the same terrible results, you kind of be like, maybe I need to change my strategy. Either that or I need to change my lineup completely. So that's a decision that they'll have to make in the offseason. That would be a difficult one.
Trev Alberts is a data-driven guy. I mean, they're going to look at this data in the offseason, and they're going to be like, what the heck is going on here? I
don't know how they work. I don't know. And the fact that we're talking about it is evidence of the fact that there's still a strong connection to the fan base. I do think that something's going to happen. Something will happen. Kids are going to enter the portal. Portal athletes are going to come this way. We'll get a surprise recruit or 2. We'll have a surprise defection or 2. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't even know what I'm having for lunch tomorrow. Never mind what's going to happen 6 months from now with Nebraska football. So it's like
I know what you're going to have for lunch tomorrow because you're addicted to Beludo pizza.
Humble pie. I've eaten enough humble pie today. I had to go to the sweatshop to detoxify today from all that humble pie I had eaten yesterday. I might have to go back tomorrow because it's not still. I need more.
That was awesome, by the way.
I did another cold plunge today.
Where? It's Sauna Strong?
It's Sauna Strong, yeah. Sauna Strong. I died in Minnesota. You go into that sauna, it's 160 degrees. You run outside, you jump into a pool of water where you have to chip the ice off of it. And it's like yeah, I'm a bad man. I could do that.
Did Leslie go with you or did you do it by yourself?
Oh, hell no. I did it by myself. She's like, it was cold. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It's all mind over matter.
Was there anybody there?
Yeah, there was people there. So it was good, and it's like, listen, it's a lot of it is sort of, you have to break your conditioning. If you're going to do cold plunges and jump into water with a layer of ice on top of it, and there's a lot of people who do it. If you're not used to it, you just have to change your mindset.
I think it's awesome. Your way into it. I think it's awesome that you're picking it up.
Well, it's listen, we ain't as young as we used to be, and any cheat codes that we can get to keep ourselves healthy, I'm all over it.
There's something we got to cover here before we sign. Think about whatever your final. This is the last pod until the spring game.
We'll do a bowl recap maybe, and then we'll pick it up again next year.
We'll see. Maybe if we can get a Matt Rule interview.
Do you think that if Matt Rule watched our podcast that he'd want to talk to us?
But I think it'd be a good opportunity.
Matt Rule, if you're listening, if you want to talk to us after this season, I would think that you are the manliest man. Yes, they're big, they're brass, and they clank when you walk. That's.
Look, I think he's the kind of guy that would face the music. And we're super pumped. We do this because we're fans. We did like 60 posts this year, and we did it every time. When you lose 4 games in a row and you get, oh, God, I got to go do the pot. Here we go. Well, we did it. We're hanging in.
For those of you who don't know, when Jay's upset, what he does is he goes and he watches a war movie. Doesn't matter. He'll find one. So last night, we watched the game. He comes over to the house and he immediately turns on a war movie. I'm like, dude, we have guests here. So you're watching a war movie. I'm like, he must really be upset. And I'm like, turn it down. So he goes, let me go to the basement. So he goes to the basement. He's all by himself in the basement. We have guests all around. Stockwell's in the basement watching a war movie because that's how upset he was. Like, listen, I'm an adopted fan. I'm a dilettante. His blood is. It's like you can't cry over it because that's not very bad. Like, it's college football. So why are you crying over that? Get your perspective.
All right, I will commit. If Matt Rule will give us an off-season interview, we'll give him 3 hours if he wants, and we'll talk about everything.
I don't think that we have enough 3 hours of material, so we would.
Here's a serious outreach from a friend of ours, Vern Cottle. Vern is a lead singer in a band I grew up with called the Hipsters, and he's now, I think he's older than me. He's like in his 60s, and he's still playing. He may even be playing this weekend. But he wrote me this note. He said, Jay, I'm dead serious about this. Herbie and Little Red are terrible mascots. We need a professionally designed mascot that is a mean-looking ear of corn, similar to these Amazon costumes, but more elaborate and meaner. You have connections. You have a podcast. You can make it happen. F Herbie, F Little Red, go Cornholer, GBR. We have to start a movement, okay, to get an angry ear of corn to be our new mascot, as in this picture with these outfits from Amazon right here.
If you're a corn husker and don't have a mullet, are you a real corn husker? I think it has. It's in the back, party in the back. Yeah, a more modern mascot to shake the doldrums of the past would be welcome. So I'm gonna leave it up to you. That's your off-season homework, Stockwell. Find a new mascot.
Guess what I'm doing to improve my mood?
What's that?
In 30 minutes, the car service is picking the entire family up, and we are going to watch the #1 Nebraska volleyball team just pound Minnesota into the ground.
Very nice. Although they lost last night to Wisconsin.
Marion, come here.
I'm never dragging my kids into this podcast. They'll dig this up one day after I'm dead. Like, let's Google who's you be.
Our death. Our
said,
death
what?
is.
My dad's a jerk.
Oh, could you just come and say hi to Uncle Bob real quick? Yeah. Just show him your little outfit. Just 2 seconds. Just a second. Uncle Bob, look at what Marion's wearing tonight to the volleyball game.
Oh yeah, there you go. Herbie Husker, you go.
Yeah, you can't hear him. You can't hear, but you've done your duty. Good job. Thank you. So that's going to be a Nebraska volleyball player right there. I'm telling you right now.
No pressure. No pressure. No pressure.
No. Hold on. Guess who she's getting? She's getting taught by Annie Glavo, former Nebraska All-American from Minnesota.
There you go.
This is her request, and thank you to Blake Nixon for popping up his season tickets. So
not bad for a Minnesota fan. So that's nice. Although is he gonna put you in the Minnesota section? You better be careful there, Stockwell. You bring in
Bob on BTN tonight. Watch the game. We're in row 2.
You're bringing the fuel rod with you, right? Betsy's coming with you. I'm not there, so you behave yourself. Are you gonna wear your big seersucker jacket?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the red, and it's cool. I'm wearing my red puffer from the Ireland game last year. I bought a red puffer.
Don't bring
Ireland.
Don't bring that bad juju in there. We're like something else. Don't bring that in there. Just yell onside kick the entire time. That was really fun this season. Is yelling onside kick at every opportunity just to watch your blood pressure spike.
So let me just say at the outset, before we sign off for the year, first of all, I want to thank David Max, and I want to thank all of our guests. We had a limited number of guests this year, but we did have Des Moines Adams. Of course, David Max was our foundational guest. Vince Ferragamo, 10 miles, and of course the great Tom Osborne, which was a super treat for both of us. So let's not forget about Andrew Bunderman
Of course.
from the Outpost and Distinguished Service Cross winner. So I guess we've had 6 guests. So next year we're going to plan ahead a little bit more, and hopefully some of this feedback will creep into the program, and some changes will be made, and we'll be even better next year. And God help us that we can retain Tony White and make some improvements in the areas where we're deficient. That is my final statement.
Wait till next year. Wait till next year.
Anything you have to say, UB?
I would say that I'm enormously hopeful for the future of the program. As disappointing as the season was, it's still, I feel, much, much better than where we've been in the past. It seemed, and mostly because the coach seems engaged. You know, Scott Frost, God bless
Agreed.
him, just seemed like he was off in his own world and not really interested in engaging. And maybe I just read it wrong, but Rule seems to want to connect. And that
I agree with that.
That's really all you can ask for in a coach, that he gives a crap about the fans. I mean, of course, his wins and losses.
Well, no, but more than anything, he cares about. First of all, he's a family guy. I love that.
Yeah,
and he cares about the team and the players.
Yeah. Well, of course, every coach is supposed to care about the team and the players. They care about the fans.
Some don't. This guy genuinely does.
Run a good path. I'm not worried. I'm disappointed, but not worried. Let's put it this way. I'm going to take him back next year. So I might break up with him for the winter, but I'll take him back in the spring. I'll take it back at the spring game, Coach. So yeah, we should make a plan to go to the spring game.
So we have a formal invitation. We would love to talk to Coach Rule sometime between now and the spring game, when you've got some free time, and really dive deep with us on some of the stuff. And but we think the world of you, Coach, and you're doing a great job. And just keep going and take a look at these data points that don't look so good, and do what you can to fix them.
And if you can, come to Minneapolis. If you play golf, bring your clubs, and Jay will treat you to a round of golf at a Dinah Country Club.
I don't know if he does it. I've never heard him talk about golf.
Even if he doesn't, come on up anyway.
Coach Miles was like we golf from the minute, from the draft. So, but well, listen, Bob, we got to take it out the way we always do. And should we do it at the same time? Maybe as a final.
Well, neither one really worked. So why don't we do it? I'll do it first, and then you do it last, because this is your wrap up. You send us out on your style. How's that sound?
Wait a minute. So what do you want me to do? You want me to?
I'll call, and you.
No, we can't have 2 Go Big Reds in a row.
Why can't we? That's twice as much energy, twice as much fun. So, all right, you take us out, Stockwell. This is your baby. I'm just the au pair. You take us out.
Thanks to our back end people at Piper Creative. Thanks to Adam Paulsick for introducing me. In particular, Randy Nadera, Mita Madahan, Hannah Phillips, and Aaron Watson. So great stuff, and really appreciate all the support all year long. Thank you. All right, here we go.
Go Big Red!
That's it.
All right, this season's over. We'll see you next season on Sunday Morning Quarterback, Nebraska edition.